was just past 2 a.m. when I left my friend Danny's place after watching a late game. I don't usually drive that late, but the freeway was smooth and I had some music playing low. I noticed the white sedan about 10 minutes into the drive. It was 2 cars behind me, lights normal, nothing suspicious at first. But then it appeared again after I exited to avoid roadwork. Then again after I took 2 wrong turns through side streets. Something about it made my skin crawl. I sped up on a long stretch of road, and the car matched my pace. I slowed to a crawl. So did he. I called 911 and explained I believed I was being followed. The operator asked if the car had attempted anything aggressive. I said no, but the fact that it had mirrored every turn and stop for over 20 minutes seemed threatening enough. She told me, with a weird calmness, to head home and lock your doors. That was the extent of it. No car sent, no officer dispatched, no file made. I pulled into a gas station, parked, and got out as if to stretch. The white car parked across the lot. The man inside didn't get out. He didn't look at me, just sat there with both hands on the wheel. I went inside the gas station, pretending to browse, even though I was shaking with nerves. The clerk wasn't there, which was odd. I leaned over the counter and saw the back door swinging slowly open. I didn't wait. I ran out, jumped into my car, and sped away. That was when the sedan's headlights flicked on again, slowly, as if mocking me. I tried to lose him in a residential neighborhood weaving through blocks I barely knew. I turned onto a dead end by mistake. The car didn't follow me around the last corner, but when I reversed out, there he was at the mouth of the street, just sitting still in the middle of the road. Then his headlights went off. He got out slowly. I could see him now, tall, wearing a hoodie pulled low, and holding something that looked like a tire iron or maybe a crowbar. I floored it toward him, and just before I reached him, he stepped aside without flinching. I didn't stop until I reached the police station 10 minutes away. I ran in, breathless, begging someone to come outside. I pointed across the street at the white car. It was gone. Just gone. I explained the entire situation, but they didn't even take my name down. One of the officers said, "Sometimes people just mess with you, especially if you look nervous. They can smell it." That was it. No report, no interest, just apathy. When I got home, I sat in my parked car for nearly 15 minutes, checking every shadow. Then I went inside, locked the doors, and stayed up the whole night. The next morning, I found a business card tucked under my windshield wiper. No name, no number, just one sentence printed in black. "You should have let me follow you home. You saw the signs, and you made it out, but many don't. Tap like if you felt the fear and hit subscribe before someone starts following you next." After my old roommate, Hannah, moved out, I finally had the 2-bedroom apartment to myself. She'd been strange the last few weeks before leaving. Quiet, jittery, obsessed with locking the windows even during summer heat. Her room always smelled like old soil and candles. She left behind a few boxes, one of them padlocked shut, and never answered my texts again. I didn't touch her stuff, just wanted space. But one night, while I was reading in the living room, I heard something knock on the wall from the inside. 3 knocks, slow and deep. I froze. It was coming from her room's closet. I opened the door, expecting maybe a trapped rodent, but it was empty. I checked the crawlspace vent below and found it slightly ajar. That was weird. It had always been sealed shut. I forced it open, and the smell hit me. Wet wood, mildew, and something else, like a candle burnt too long. Inside, etched into the frame, were symbols I didn't recognize, like jagged spirals and half faces. The next night, I heard scratching, then whispering. It wasn't in English. The voice was soft, rhythmic, almost like chanting. I stayed with my boyfriend that night. The day after, I contacted the landlord. He brushed it off, said it was just the old pipes. I called the police when I found a single piece of paper slid under my locked door that read, "You weren't supposed to open it." When the officers came, they walked through, saw the crawl space and shrugged. "There's no sign of forced entry," they said. I asked if they could check inside the crawl space. One of them shined a flashlight in, then said with a smirk, "Looks like your roommate had a vivid imagination." That night, I dreamed of a pale face with stitched eyes crawling across the ceiling. It was smiling without a mouth. I woke up with dried dirt on my sheets. I moved out within a week. But last month, I received a letter. No return address. Inside were 5 Polaroids. All were photos of me, asleep in my bed. But the most terrifying part wasn't that someone had taken them. It was the angle. The photos were taken from inside the crawl space. When I was 17, I spent the summer at my uncle's remote ranch in Kansas. Vast flatlands, endless sky, and rows of cornfields that hissed when the wind picked up. The nearest neighbor was 4 miles away. On my 3rd night there, I saw her, a little girl, maybe 9 years old, standing at the edge of the corn at dusk, barefoot, wearing a white dress, staring directly at the house. I pointed her out to my uncle. His face drained of color. "Get inside," he said. That night, he bolted every window, locked the doors, and refused to answer my questions. The next day, I walked out to where she stood. I found only one thing: an old rag doll, buried halfway in the dirt, with red yarn hair and button eyes stitched shut. The night after, I woke up to the sound of giggling outside the window. Not a little girl's laugh, but a low, broken cackle, pretending to be one. I peeked through the blinds and saw her again. This time, she was closer. And this time, she had moved. I saw it with my own eyes. 1 second, she was at the edge of the field. The next, she was halfway across the yard. No movement, just instant relocation. I called the sheriff's office. They sent a single deputy who didn't even step inside. He stood on the porch, said, "She's not our problem," and drove away. That night, I saw her face pressed to the window glass. I didn't even hear her approach. My uncle started muttering prayers under his breath. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't look away. She just stood there, breathing, fogging the glass, tapping with one finger. On my last night at the ranch, I saw something that still haunts me. I looked out at the field and saw her again, but now she was joined by others. Dozens of pale, childlike figures emerging from the corn, all wearing white. No eyes, just empty sockets. No feet touching the ground. They hovered inches above the dirt, facing the house like a congregation. My uncle wouldn't tell me who they were, but as I packed to leave the next morning, he handed me a photograph. It was old and cracked. A black and white image of a one-room schoolhouse surrounded by corn. A group of children stood out front, their faces blurred by time, except one. The little girl in white, front and center, staring directly into the lens. I flipped the photo over. In faded pencil it read, "Class of 1913, all lost in fire. No survivors, still waiting for recess." That chill down your spine? It's not over. Click the next video before it finds you.